I needed some more storage, and I didn't particularly want to spend a lot of money on it, and I wasn't too bothered about it being new, and so I decided to take a punt and buy some drives from CeX. I purchased 3 drives in total, the first of which is this Western Digital Green 3TB 3.5 inch drive, and despite the price sticker on it I paid £22 for this. The next is a 250GB Seagate pipeline 3.5 inch drive, which only cost me £2.50. And the final drive is a 500GB 2.5 inch Samsung spin point. As CeX charged postage per item rather than per order, I picked these up from our local store, so I didn't have too much choice about the sort of drives that were available. But that said, I got the capacity that I wanted, so I'm happy with what I ended up with in the end. Well, actually, I guess that depends on the results of testing them. I had also ordered a 1TB 2.5 inch drive, but unfortunately they found an issue with that drive before I received it, which, while unfortunate, is better that it happened that way. A fault was noticed before I actually received it. So just looking a little bit closer at the drives, and I'll start with a Samsung because of the way I've stacked them. As I said earlier, this is a 500GB drive, so it's a pretty old drive, but we'll see when we're testing it how long it's actually been powered on for. This is only a SATA 2 drive, which is why it's labelled 3GB a second, which realistically is probably more than the drive is actually capable of anyway. Onto the Seagate now, and this has the same 500GB capacity as the Samsung, but this one's a 3.5 inch desktop drive. The drive's a Seagate Pipeline HD, and the Pipeline is Seagate's lineup of drives which are used for things like CCTV systems. And you can see, while this does of course require 12 volts, so I'm not going to be able to power this over USB, it does have a much lower power consumption than you'll generally see in 3.5 inch drives. The last of the 3 is the Western Digital Green desktop drive, which is both physically the largest and also has the largest capacity of the 3, at 3TB. As it's a green drive, it'll only run at, I believe, 5900 RPM, which is closer to the sort of speeds you'd expect from a 2.5 inch drive. I'm not sure you can see this on camera through the price sticker, but this drive was manufactured in 2014, which means it is the newest of the 3. And if I just grab the Seagate again, you can just see, if I put these together, just how much thicker this drive is, owing to its higher capacity. So that's a quick overview of the drives, and the newest one being 2014 means they are all over a decade old now, so it'll be interesting to see when we get these plugged in just how long they've actually been powered on for, and most importantly, whether there are any bad sectors on any of the drives. I'm starting with the Samsung because it's the easiest one to plug in, being USB powered, and the first thing I'm going to do is take a look at the smart data. So we can see the drive listed here on the left hand side. It's this one at the bottom, the Samsung HM500JI, and I just open the smart data now, and it's showing that the disk's okay, but let's have a look a bit more detail at the data. Right, so the first thing we can see, it's been powered on for 1 year and 6 months, so that's not too bad considering the age of the drive. Just over 5,000 start-stop count, again that's not too high, and reallocated sector count of 0, so that's a really good sign for the health of the drive. We've also got the power on hours again repeated down here. If we scroll a bit further down, again power cycle count similar to the start-stop count. Current pending sectors, we've also got 0. So overall, it's looking like this is a healthy drive. I'm just going to run an extended test on it, and I don't expect that to show any errors given what we've seen here, but I also like to run a test on it just to surface any issues that might be hiding under the surface. So this is probably going to take a while to run, so I'm just going to leave this running and come back to it at the end and see what the results are. Right, so it's just finished testing. I did notice the throughput performance value dropped quite a lot there. So I might have a look into that later on just to see what that's all about. But it did complete the test successfully, so I'm happy with this drive, and I'm going to put this one to one side now and take a look at the next one. Onto the Seagate now, and the PC has detected the drive, so I'm just going to do exactly the same thing as before, open up the smart data and see what that tells us. Right, so for this one we can see this one's been powered on for quite a long time, 4 years and 10 months, so a lot more than the Samsung. But as I said previously, this is a drive intended for things like CCTV systems, so I'm not really surprised that's such a high value. The start-stop count looks suspiciously like it might have hit a limit at 65,535, so I'll keep an eye out to see if that changes at all in the future. But that is quite a high number. And I'm a bit surprised about that if it was used in a CCTV system. You'd expect it to be in use pretty much all the time. Right, as with the Samsung, we've got 0 reallocated sectors, which is exactly what you wanted to see. The seek error rate and the read error rate are both very high values. But what's important to note with Seagate drives is the way they report these is a bit different to how other manufacturers use it. So you quite often see high values here, and it doesn't actually mean that the drive's failing. I'm not too worried about those values, even though they do look quite scary when you first see them. And just scrolling down a bit further, and yeah, all looks good. There's nothing of any concern in here, other than the fact it has been powered on for quite a while, but there should still be plenty of life left in it. So again, I'm going to run the extended test and come back again once it's completed. So as with the Samsung, the test has completed successfully. You'll see if you compare this now to the seek error rate at the start, you'll be able to see just how much it's gone up during the course of the test. But as I said before, there's nothing, not concerned about that. So yeah, this drive looks good as well. So I'll unplug this one, put this to one side and get the last drive plugged in and tested. So the WD drive's plugged in now, and one thing that's interesting with this compared to the other two is it does actually have a partition on it. It is totally empty, but it's not unformatted like the other two were. I'll be formatting them later on anyway, but that was just an interesting thing I noticed that was different with this one compared to the other two. Right, so this one's been powered on for 2 years and 5 months, which means the Samsung, despite being the oldest of the three, has been powered on for the least amount of time. It's only got a start-stop count of 63 though, so it suggests that this has been maybe in a NAS or in a server somewhere, and it's been powered on and off fairly infrequently. But given the capacity, it wouldn't surprise me if it was used in a NAS or something similar. Another one with no reallocated sectors, which is great. And yeah, all these values are looking pretty low. The only one that looks high is the load-unload cycle count. And the normalised value for that is only 9, so it does suggest that it's, as far as the manufacturer's predefined values are concerned, it is getting towards the end of its expected life in that regard. Given that this is a green drive, perhaps it's a bit more aggressive in loading and unloading the read-write heads. Maybe that saves a bit of power. I can't imagine this is going to cause any problems anytime soon. So I'm sure you know the drill by now. We'll get the extended test up and running. It's probably going to take a long time given the capacity of the drive, but yeah, we'll come to it when it's finished and just make sure that it passes. And as with the other two, this drive has also passed. After completing the smart test, I also decided to run a little test on the drives to see if I could find any recoverable data. Now I should say, I'm not actually interested in the data itself, of course. I'm not trying to steal anyone's personal information, and I intended to stop the test as soon as any files were found, as that would be an indicator that the drive hasn't been properly wiped. If you've ever traded drives into CeX, you'll be pleased to hear that no data was recoverable from any of these drives. Of course, I don't know whether the previous owner fully wiped them before trading them in, or whether this is a sign of CeX's process. I would assume CeX have processes to do this, regardless of whether the original owner did or not. Of course, I don't know that for certain, so make sure if you do trade any drives in, that you do fully wipe them before you do so. But it's still a good result to see that no data could be recovered from any of these 3 drives. Of course, I've only just bought these drives, so I can't speak about the longevity of them. And of course, they are all over a decade old, so you got to be realistic about how much longer you can expect them to keep going. That said, I'm more than satisfied with all 3 of these drives. All of them have 0 reallocated or pending sectors, and the smart data suggests that all 3 drives are healthy. I did spend a bit of time beforehand looking at eBay and a few other sources to see if I could pick up drives cheaper anywhere else, but CeX turned out to be pretty much the cheapest I could find. Just remember, if you are going to use them, at the time of recording it's £2.50 post and packing per item, so it's definitely worth looking if you've got a store local to you, and the website does allow you to filter just to the stock available in your local store. I've also noticed that the prices can sometimes be different on the website to what you find in the store. Certainly in the case of the 3TB drive I bought, it was £3 cheaper buying it online and going through the click and collect option compared to what was on the price sticker when I received it. You do also get a 5-year warranty at CeX, and while I've never used their warranty for anything in the past, so I don't know what the process is like, it's certainly more than I'd have got if I bought a drive through eBay. So based on my experience here, I'd have no issues going back there picking up any more drives, though I'm probably not going to be doing that anytime soon. I think I've got plenty of storage for the time being. And hopefully this video has given you an idea of what you can expect if you're thinking of buying drives from CeX. I hope you like this video. Thank you very much for watching, and be sure to stick around for the next one.